3, 2, 1, cut.
Turning the Ritz Carlton into a prison, strengthening an alliance with Israel, escalating the war in Yemen, triggering the siege of Qatar, and now Lebanon. Saudi Arabia's crown prince is quickly leaving his mark across the Arab world in his bid to make his country a stronger regional player. But big moves can have big consequences, especially if they backfire. Mohammed bin Salman's war in Yemen isn't going as planned. Nearly 3 years in, the aerial bombardment has brought about the world's largest humanitarian crisis in the Arab world's poorest country. The campaign has failed to push back the Houthi rebels and has endangered the Saudi capital itself. 2 weeks ago, bin Salman further escalated the situation after Houthi missiles targeted Riyadh. The Saudis called it an act of war by Iran, who they said provided the missiles to the Houthis.
And we hold Iran responsible for this. They're the ones who provided the missiles in violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2216. We believe that it was Iranian experts and Hezbollah experts who taught and coordinated the attack against Saudi Arabia. So we believe that this could be considered an act of war.
But on Monday, November 23rd, the kingdom announced that it would begin reopening airports and seaports in Yemen. Meanwhile, the war in Yemen hasn't helped the kingdom's image. An outpour of criticism by both media and aid organizations has highlighted the atrocities of the campaign and the role of culprits, including Saudi Arabia's allies like the UK and the US. Yemen isn't the only hole that bin Salman has dug for himself. His interference in Lebanon also seems to be backfiring. On November 4th, Hariri resigned live from Riyadh after being summoned by the kingdom. His surprise resignation was not accepted by the president or the opposition, who blamed bin Salman of overreaching and forcing Hariri to resign. And so the move that was designed to polarize and destabilize Lebanon did the opposite, as the country unified in its desire for Hariri to return home safely. In his last 2 public appearances, Hariri has toned down his criticism of Iran and Hezbollah, giving signs of a potential consensus with Lebanese President Michel Aoun and Hezbollah. So it seems both Lebanon and Yemen were miscalculations on the part of bin Salman, unsuccessfully trying to confront Iranian influence in the region. Nearly 7 months after the Saudi-led Arab boycott of Qatar, cutting off Doha has not achieved the desired results. Demands such as shutting down Al Jazeera were not accepted, with Qatar determined to maintain its sovereignty.
Have they underestimated you?
I think they underestimated the Qatari people.
So you're not going to shut down Al Jazeera?
No, we're not going to shut down Al Jazeera. Our sovereignty is a red line. We don't accept anybody interfering in our sovereignty.
Solidarity with Qatar and a media outcry over the risk placed on Al Jazeera has ensured that the move does not gain the public's approval both in the region and abroad. Qatar has survived the coercive policies of its Arab neighbors and has relied heavily on Iran and Turkey to do so, further pushing it away from Saudi Arabia's sphere of influence. Since Trump's visit to Riyadh in June 2017, it appears a strong alliance has been forged between bin Salman, the US president, and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. Trump expressed his support for the campaign against Qatar, as well as bin Salman's royal shakeup. But with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson acting as a check and balance on Trump's foreign policy initiatives, it seems that bin Salman has over-relied on his friends in the White House. Bin Salman has also warmed up to Israel, with both countries finding a lot of common ground in countering Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Qatar, and Al Jazeera. However, normalizing relations with Tel Aviv can, for one, delegitimize Saudi Arabia's position as a leader of the Arab and Muslim world, especially with the ongoing Israeli occupation and human rights abuses committed against Palestinians.
It used to be said if you make peace with the Palestinians, you'll make peace with the rest of the Arab world. It may equally be the other way around. I think you actually have to bootstrap both.
Meanwhile, reports have suggested that bin Salman has pressured Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas to accept Trump and Kushner's peace plan. A matter which doesn't seem to be going as planned, with Palestinian officials announcing on Tuesday that they had suspended meetings with the US, following a quarrel with the Trump administration over the future of their representative office in Washington. Bin Salman has attempted to change Saudi Arabia's role in the region, from a petrodollar economic hegemony into a political and military power. Witnessing Iran's regional rise in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and Lebanon, he desires to establish himself as a strongman from the Mediterranean to the Gulf. But just like other strong men before him, the 32-year-old may find that his ambitious goals can backfire significantly. Saddam Hussein, Muammar al-Gaddafi, and before them Gamal Abdel Nasser are prime examples of how regional interventions, loose alliances with unnatural allies, and large-scale economic projects can cause instability instead of prosperity, war instead of peace, and suppression in the place of freedom.